Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about famous people. So what kind of famous people do you guys admire? So we have, let's see, we have Nandian, and then we have Anissa. In the chat, let me know who you admire the most. So I'm also going to share some material, and then we can have a conversation a little bit about this this topic. Okay, so let's see, I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so as you can see, who is on the screen? Who do you guys know is on the screen? What is this? What is the name of the person? You can either name the character that he plays as, or you can also mention the name of the actual actor. Who do you think that is? Let me know inside the chat. If you guys don't want to open up your mic, that's okay. Who is the person that you see on your screen? If you're not sure, that's okay. It's an old actor, so it's kind of maybe a little bit out of date, but that's all right. If you've ever seen his series based on Mr. Bean, then of course you all know who he is, as well as Johnny English. He also plays in that movie. He pretends to be like a James Bond character, but then he ends up messing the mission up every single time he goes on a mission, and his name is Johnny English. Okay, so if you could be someone famous, or if you can meet someone famous, who would you like to meet the most? Let's see, I'm going to call on Salma or Anissa. Or what do I call you, Hannah? You can type in the chat, Anissa, based on who you would like to meet. If you don't want to be a famous person, or if you don't want to be in the place of that famous person, but who is a famous person you would love to meet the most? Let me know inside the chat. I'm gonna wait. Hi, okay, Anissa, all right. So like I said, who is one person that you would like to meet most? Who is the one famous person you would like to meet? Is there anyone famous, whether it's a singer or an actor or an actress that you would like to meet? Let me know inside the chat. I'm still going to wait, Anissa. Okay, while you think about the one person that you're going to meet, I'm also going to go ahead and I will continue on with the material so you can see what I have. This is just going to be simply a conversation based on famous people, okay? All right, so we have any celebrities? I really don't have anyone in mind. Okay. All right, that's good. That's fine if you don't have anyone in mind. What I want you to do during this time is to think about maybe 5 important questions you would like to ask this famous person. If you can pick maybe anyone that comes to the top of your head. I want you to come up with maybe 5 questions you would ask, or if you have anyone in mind, like you said before, come up with 5 general questions you would ask any one celebrity you could. So come up with 5 questions, and then I'm going to go ahead and continue with what you see on your screen based on this one. So name a famous, it says to name a famous actor, football player, celebgram, actress, author, YouTuber, singer, film director, and chef. Ooh, okay, so this one on the top of you making, I'm actually gonna cut it down. Yeah, I'm actually gonna cut it down. Instead of making 5 important questions you would ask, I'm going to have you, even if you have already made 5 questions, that's okay. Pick 2 and then tell me which two you would like to ask any celebrity that you meet or any famous person. Doesn't necessarily have to be a celebrity, but it can also be a famous person in general that might be outside of being an actor or an actress or even a singer. What are 2 questions you would love to ask the person that you meet? Let me know, okay? And then I want you to also take a look at your screen and then help me name some of these famous titles for the famous actor, famous actress, and then I'll write it on the board. Okay, so I can help you out a little bit by giving you maybe the name of a famous actor and actress, and then maybe a YouTuber, or maybe if you watch YouTube a lot and then there's one YouTuber that you like the most, let me know what the name is and then I'll write it down on the board, okay? Okay, so while you think of your 2 questions and then the name for these famous people, maybe we can compare, yeah? Okay, good. So the one famous person I'm possibly going to write down for the actor would be the one I know the most is definitely Tom Cruise. Sorry if my handwriting is a little bit slanted because there's such a small space for this. Girl, let's see, actress. I'm not sure. I feel really bad because I'm not sure how you spell her name. Keira Knightley. At least her first name, I'm not sure. Knightley. Okay. Those are the 2 people, or the 2 famous people that star in movies that I would name. Can you name the other ones? For example, what's the name of a singer that you know? What's the name of a football player, an author, a film director, and so on and so on. And I'll write it on the board. So you tell me what names to write down, and then I will write them on the board. Give me an idea. Nandi, maybe you can also help. Give me an idea of a famous person from one of these lists, and then from this list, and then you write down the name. Maybe, maybe. Okay, okay, so let's see. Singer. I would say for a singer that comes to my mind, just comes to my mind, yeah? Lady. Football player. I'm gonna keep it short and write his name in short, or his nickname, sorry, C, 7, okay? And author, there was an author, I forgot his name, but his name ended with green. No idea? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. A film director. I'm naming almost everyone that's classic, yeah? Steven Spielberg. Okay. Celebgram. I'm gonna skip that one for a minute. A YouTuber. A YouTuber, I would say, would be, I'm not sure. Oh, yes, I know. Sorry. Yes, no. Mm. Okay. Anissa, Mandy, you have any idea? Chef. Chef. Okay. Someone in Indonesia, yeah. So the last two people are the YouTuber and the chef are from, of course, Indonesia, and then everyone else is from different parts of the world, yeah. Okay. So, like I said before, which famous people would you like to meet and why? And then Anissa, if you could be famous, would you want to be famous? If you had a choice to be famous, would you be famous? Okay, maybe not. All right, okay, that's fine. Uh, okay, let's see. All right, I am going to keep going and then let's see. Okay, Tanya, you're here. You can type in the chat based on who you see. I'm actually missing one person. We were talking about famous people, and then you just came in as well. And then the first thing I want to ask is, if you could be famous, what would you do? And then if you could have a chance to meet someone famous, who would you meet? Let me know inside the chat, okay? Okay. All right. Let's see. While you guys are maybe typing in your answers based on who you would like to meet and why, or if you could be famous, what would you do? I'm also going to keep going and then I will have you take a look at the grammar for this one. So if blah, 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 I would in this case. So we use if and then I would to talk about an imaginary situation. So for example, if I were famous, I would help people in need. Keep in mind that this is a second condition. So it's talking about imaginary situations in the second condition, basing it on if you were someone or if you did something, then you would imagine what you would do for that situation. For example, in this case, if I were famous, so you have the if clause here, and then you have plus were or verb to, and then you have your subject, and then it would be plus would. Okay, so you have your if clause and then you have a comma, and then after the comma, it would be using I would. And then what you would do. So you would be pretending you were someone or you were doing something, and then you could imagine what would happen. Okay, so what tense is used in the if clause? Past or present? Right, so yeah, the actual tense that is being used here, because I had already mentioned it before, is verb to. So that is considered the past tense, because if we use the present tense, then it's going to be a different situation, okay? So we are using the past tense for the if clause, because I had already mentioned it before that we were using the past simple over here in this case, okay? What verb comes after would? Is it the present or is it the infinitive? What verb? What kind of verb? Is it verb 1 or verb 2? Or is it what other kind of verb? Okay, I would say it's actually verb 1. So in this case, the if clause, you will use verb 2, and then the would clause, after the comma, you use the verb 1. That's the easiest way for you to remember and understand how to use it in a sentence, okay? So if you were famous, what would you do? Same thing with this question. If you have the if clause in the beginning, and then you have were, verb 2, famous, then you have the comma, and then you have what would you do? You have a question word. I would call it QW, plus would, and then plus another subject, plus verb 1. Okay, that's how it works. So we're going to take a look at the next thing, which is an exercise, which is a practice. So you're going to help me fill in the blanks with the right verb. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. If I, blah, 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 a lot of money, I would house. And you have the words in parentheses, or you have the words in brackets to help you out. So keep in mind from the formula before, if, for the if clause, we use verb 2. For the would clause, we use verb 1, or we keep it the way it is, yeah? Okay, so for this one, what is it? Okay, so let's see. If I had a lot of money, I would buy a house. So this one stays the same, but this one you have to remember that it changes to verb 2. Can't stress that enough, yeah? So let's see. Number 2, would you to my restaurant if I a chef? This one is switched around. You have the would clause that comes first, and then the if clause that comes second. So if you have it switched around this way, then you do not need a comma, okay? As you can see in the question, there is no comma, so you don't need one if it is in this form. But the form of the verb must stay the way it is. So, for example, in this one, would you come, so it stays the same, like in the previous form, to my restaurant. If I, then this verb be, you have to be very careful because the verb be in this case is actually like the to be or the auxiliary verb, yeah? So this one, if I were a chef, okay? All right, now let's go on to number 3. She would blank to the beach if she blank. This one actually is supposed to have the word could in it. She would go to, sorry, not could, but the. There's supposed to be a the inside. Okay. So she would, keep in mind, even though there is a subject at the beginning, the verb still stays the same because it is the would clause. Okay, so she would go to the beach if she can when you change it to the past tense, it becomes good. Okay? Okay. So this one is actually good. Okay. Number 4. If she, this one is the if clause that goes in the beginning. If she blank a celebrity, she blank hire bodyguards. Now this one is in the negative form. So this one, if she, we have to change this one to the verb to. So if she was not or wasn't, I'm gonna maybe make it shorter. Sorry, the space once again is really, really small. Okay. Maybe I can make it bigger. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So if she wasn't a celebrity, she will becomes would. Wouldn't. Would not hire bodyguards. Yeah. But even if you aren't a celebrity, but you are still a famous person, you would definitely most likely have to hire bodyguards because you will have to keep yourself safe, right? Right? Good. Yep, of course. I would. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna move this over. Okay, a lot of people, for number 5, a lot of people blank if they bring Maroon 5 to the concert. Let's see, a lot of people, this one is the other way around. So the if clause is second. A lot of people would be, right? Because we have to change the will to would. Would be disappointed if they could not or couldn't bring Maroon 5 to the concert. Who in this case do you guys think is they? Maybe the people who are holding the concert? Maybe, just maybe, okay? All right. Okay, I'm gonna still have this conversation with you based on why do a lot of people wanna be famous? Do you think money is an important factor to the fact that people wanna be famous? They wanna get known and then they could have a lot of money. Do you think that's one of the factors that people want to become famous? Is because they could have anything they want and they could have a lot of money and be well known? I think so. It could be part of it, but then depends on what kind of famous. There are people who are famous because they cause trouble, or there are people who become famous because all of a sudden they just became famous out of nowhere. And there are people who are also famous just only for one time, and then after that they might end up losing everything and then not be famous anymore. That kind of happens too, right? Look at number 2. How do people get famous these days? How do you think people get famous these days? Anissa, maybe you can write inside the chat how you think people become famous these days. What is your opinion? I want to know. You can write inside the chat, yeah? In your opinion, why do you think people become famous? Okay, it's okay. No worries. If you have a hard time thinking about why people become famous or how people get famous or how people become famous these days, most of the time it's easy now these days because almost everything, unfortunately, is online, even though that might be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing that everything has to go online. And the only way you can get noticed, or the only way a person can get noticed, is through applications, for example, like if you use Instagram, if you use Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, those kinds of things can make you famous too, right? Especially, you can even use TikTok and Snapchat for uh, having that be your platform to become famous and get a lot of money off of endorsements and things like that, right? Yeah. Okay. So, how did people get famous in the past? That's different from now. Do you think it is unfair that there are a lot of famous people already and then they end up going on YouTube because, of course, they can't go on TV anymore because of the pandemic? They can't go on the TV, so they end up finding other ways to keep the money flow going and keeping their fans happy, so they end up going to YouTube. But do you think that's fair for people who want to start up a YouTube, for people who want to get paid, want to get more subscribers, but then there are famous people who are already famous, who are already well known, and they automatically get a lot of money already just from that, from all of their fans subscribing to their material? Do you think it's fair or do you think it's unfair? In my case, in my personal opinion, I think it's okay. It's okay. It could be okay, but it could be unfair as well, depending on how you take it and then depending on how you feel. If you wanted to become a YouTuber yourself, but you're starting from the very, very beginning, and then you have famous people who have already been famous for a long time on television and they go onto YouTube, sometimes we might get irritated, or sometimes we might get upset that, oh, it's easy for them to get money because they're already famous and then we want to be famous, but it's not working, right? Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the next question and see if you can help me answer that one based on your opinion. Yeah, some of you might agree with me, some of you might not, but that's okay, I don't mind. What do you think about celebrity culture? So first, how people got famous in the past, of course, it was the more conventional way by going on to TV, by being on TV, and then by getting noticed. So maybe you could be, and you could end up doing something in your life and then get noticed for your good deeds or get noticed for something unique that you have based on your traits. And then you could end up getting called on the television show, and then you can end up becoming famous that way. Or you can get famous through the radio. So there were more conventional ways, right? For example, like the radio, television, commercials, getting photo shoots, becoming a model and things like that. Sometimes being a model still exists, but when it comes to doing runways and things like that, it might be a little bit different now. Okay, let's see. What do you know about celebrity culture? Do you think becoming a celebrity is easy? What kind of cultures or what kind of celebrities do you think have it easy or have an easy life? Or do you think most celebrities might have a difficult life because their life is already out in the open, even though they chose to become a celebrity, but they should have also known the disadvantages of becoming one? Yeah. Yeah, so in my opinion on this one, celebrities can have anything they want because they have all the money. They can um, do whatever they want to do, look however they want to look. But in most cases, their life can either be very, very busy. I don't think it's great that there are celebrities that can have a great career and a great family life, but sometimes, most of the time, depending on how long you have been famous and how long things have been working for you with both your family and your work life, how good you mix that together, it will become a good culture for all celebrities around the world. But if you're, for example, like Tom Cruise, who's actually a wonderful actor, he's been great, but then he doesn't have a good family life, it's very difficult for him. So yeah, it's all about how you react to things around you and how you know when you want to become a celebrity, then you have to know the consequences of becoming one, right? What are some drawbacks of being famous? So I did kind of mention it before. What are some drawbacks? You just actually want to have a cup of coffee down the street, but then everybody notices you, and then you can't just have a simple cup of coffee to yourself because everybody in the world or everybody in where you come from knows who you are, and they want to have an autograph of you. They want to take a picture with you. So most of the time that's going to be hard as well. You want to dress down. You don't want to look too proper all the time. I think that's what most celebrities want in their life at some point, is just to relax and have a time of their own. But of course, when you become a celebrity, like I said before, you should already know the consequences. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you these questions. If you had $1 million US dollars, yeah, what would you buy? If you had 1 million US dollars, what would you buy? Is there one thing, or would there be several things that you would buy? Most of the time, people will say, I'd buy a car, I'd buy a house, that kind of thing. I'd possibly go around the world first, explore the world. If I could buy a private jet, I would buy a jet, just, or even rent one just to take me around the world, and that's it for now. Okay. All right. Now let's see. Number 2. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Do you like yourself now? Everybody should like themselves now. But if you could change one thing, one feature of yourself, what would it be? It doesn't even have to be a physical feature. It can be your personality, so it doesn't necessarily cost you anything. So if you could change one thing about yourself, what would that be? Of course, for me, I think it would be habits. I would love to change my habits. There are some bad habits that I have that I could possibly try to improve on or change. So I would love to change that. Okay. If you could stop time, what would you do? I would probably do something unusual and a little bit ridiculous. Like if I could stop the time, I would take some time to sit and meditate for a minute. Or if not, then I would just act a fool, dance around because I stopped the time and then nobody will notice what I've done. So I'll just do something as ridiculous as that, or change someone's hairstyle out of nowhere. And then when the time snaps back, then that person will not know what had happened. Now, this one is a very important question. If you were a president, what would you do? I'm fine with what Jokowi is doing now, but I would possibly I would not want to become president, to be honest. Of course, I don't want to become president. But if I had to, and there's no other way, but people around me have chosen me to become president, I would continue on with the previous president's job and then continue on to try to do my best to make this country or make another country, depending on where I am at the moment, a better country. Okay, and then the next question, if you were an animal, what would that be and why? So if you were an animal, I want you to think about it. If you were an animal, what would that animal be? What would you be and why? If I were an animal, I would be two different kinds of animals, actually. If I were something nice, cute, and fluffy, maybe I would be a bunny rabbit, because people used to think of me as having bunny teeth. So my two front teeth are big. So I would be a bunny rabbit, but a nice one of those big, nice and fluffy ones you could use as a pillow. I won't go anywhere anyway. Or if I had to be something that's very fierce, I would be a wolf. I would love to be a wolf and then just roam around the forest. Okay, now let's see. We're gonna take a look at the next few things just before you guys go, if there is anything. Okay, actually not. Okay, so over all of these things, like I said before, oh, that's right. We didn't mention who the celebgram was. I don't, celebgram, I'm not sure of a famous celebgram. I completely forgot one. Let's see. If I could think of one, it would definitely have to be, so anybody that's from YouTube, of course, would end up becoming someone who is a celebgram on Instagram. I'm nearly famous, but not yet all the way. Let's see. Celebgram. If I can think of one celebgram, or if not one celebgram, based on what kind of celebrities, based on like YouTubers or celebgrams or anybody who gets famous through apps, do you love to watch the most? For example, like I love to watch celebgrams or YouTubers that have anything to do with fitness, clothing, or makeup, definitely. Because I'm a girl, yeah, okay. Okay, so based on those categories, that is anything that I would deal with, any between a YouTuber and a celebgram, those are the topics that I would search for the most. Now, what kind of topics would you guys search for? If you're not exactly sure of the name of the person, but you can maybe give me the genre, or I don't know how you would say it, but it's like a genre of the type of things that you search for when you go onto YouTube, or what was the last thing that you watched on YouTube even? Okay, so let's see. Yeah, the last thing I saw on YouTube was, yeah, or even if I were to think of people who were, so Just No Limit, for example, was a YouTuber from the start. He was never on TV before, but if I were to go from someone who was from TV or whatever their job was to someone who had become internet sensation, I would say. I would, if it was local, if it was a local person, yeah, I would mention Daddy. Daddy. See, I don't even want to talk about his last name, but yeah, Daddy Corbusier. So that's the person that I would consider as another YouTuber. But this YouTuber would be, Daddy would be the person who would come from TV to transferring himself to becoming a YouTuber and a celebgram. Yeah. Okay. So for all that we have talked about so far, it's all about being famous. So if you guys ask me if I wanted to be famous, no, I don't. I would rather not be famous. But I would, I wouldn't mind the money, but I just don't want to be that in the famous part of it. But yeah, I think being famous once in a while, being famous for doing something good is a good thing. But being famous for just being a sensation because we do bad things to attract people to watch us, of course not. If I could go anywhere, now going to the questions we were talking about before, if I had $1 million, I mentioned to you guys that I would maybe rent a jet and then fly around the world. If I could change something about myself, I would change some of my bad habits. If I could stop the time, then I would maybe dance around, do something silly. If I were a president, continue what the previous president had done before and continue their jobs. And then if I were an animal, I would either be a fluffy bunny or I would be a wolf. Okay, so that is definitely all for today. So I hope you guys had enjoyed the topic. And then if you definitely want to know more about what we have and then everything that we have to offer, don't forget to take a look at our Instagram, our YouTube, and then take a look at our website, okay? All right, I hope you enjoyed the topic and then I hope to see you again next time. Bye guys.